welcome to our YouTube channel. Today we're joined by our Senior Fellow, Dr. Stephen McCabe. So Steve, Senior Tories are urging ministers to scrap an illegal Brexit rule plan, which ignores legal advice over proposed withdrawal agreement changes. So can you explain what's going on here?
Right, it's complicated. It's to do with subsidies. One of the things that was part of the withdrawal agreement, so-called oven-ready deal that our Prime Minister was so fond of sort of trotting out during the election, that was good to go and a fantastic deal. They've kind of discovered, because they didn't really look, because it was effectively Theresa May's withdrawal deal, with certain sort of nuances, that if goods go across the sort of the sea from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, they might attract subsidies. So there's a whole issue here. Oh, sorry, tariffs. I should say tariffs. But also this undermines the sort of the ability to sort of use subsidies for firms that might operate in Ireland or Northern Ireland, and goods that sort of might end up in the Republic, and the tariffs that will be sort of put on there. So what the government are trying to do is play fast and loose on this one. So, but we're going to take this out of it and create the sort of an internal law which supersedes the sort of the contents of an international treaty, I should stress, that was signed in good faith. So effectively what they're saying is that sort of we're going to change something to suit our internal purposes, and we don't care about international law. In fact, the Northern Ireland Secretary Brandon Lewis said exactly that yesterday. So it's quite phenomenally staggering for sort of a minister to say this. Is it sort of something that's real? Well, we believe it will be in the internal market bill, which is to be published today. Will it actually happen? The chances are probably not, but nonetheless, I think it's a way, if you like, of exercising some sort of power. The fallout has been incredible, but I think they would have war gamed that, as it were, because they always strategize these things, and they probably believe that this will play well to the internal sort of parts of the party, and they're probably hoping that sort of this will force the sort of the EU to make compromises. Whether it does or not, we do not know, but it certainly sort of created a pretty poisonous atmosphere.
So Sir Jonathan Jones has resigned from his role in light of the Internal Market Bill. Sir Jonathan was the government's most senior lawyer and is understood to believe it went too far in breaching the government's obligations under international law. So what impact could his resignation have on what happens next in the Brexit process then?
On the face of it, probably very little, because again, the government will have a strategy, it seems to me, a sort of policy or a desire to get rid of what they see as the recalcitrant civil servants. So the fact that he's done this is, I don't suppose it'll cause him any loss of sleep whatsoever. What it does do, of course, it tells you that sort of if the most senior legal person is doing this, it makes you sort of wonder how far they will go to get their way. It does also beg questions of sort of the very senior sort of ministers such as Robert Buckland, and of course the Attorney General Suella Braverman, because of course they swear an oath of allegiance to sort of obey all laws, and if they're prepared to sort of go along with this happily, which they appear to be sort of prepared to do so, then it does tell you that we've gone a very long way in departing from the sort of the notional norms, or the accepted and believed norms that has made this country great. And I believe this to be so, that this country has always been an arbiter of fair play and adhering to the laws. Let's face it, invented cricket, which is always about fair play. As I say, it provides a sort of poisonous atmosphere, which I sort of made in my previous question, and I think it probably will give the sort of the EU negotiators cause for sort of a concern. And the point I would also make very, very strongly is that sort of, and Theresa May at this point, as many others have done, in future, if you sign an international agreement with the sort of the British government, what's its worth? Will they then sort of unilaterally decide they're going to change the terms and conditions? If we all played this game, then the commerce, that the world would not operate. It's about sort of trust, and my word being my bond. And certainly when you sign contracts, you're expected to abide by them.
Social gatherings of more than 6 people will be illegal in England from Monday, with some exceptions. This is due to obviously a steep rise in coronavirus cases. So this will be enforced for a £100 fine if people fail to comply, doubling on each offence up to a maximum of £3,200. So are the government no longer focusing on local lockdowns then?
No, I mean that's not correct, insofar as that sort of the government are sort of looking at various areas of which, of course, we're in Birmingham, and that's on the sort of the certainly when I looked yesterday on the sort of the top 5 areas of concern where the infection rates are going up. So I believe that it's entirely possible that we will see lots more local lockdowns as this thing sort of spreads. And particularly, of course, what we've got is the schools have gone back, and also more particularly sort of universities just about to start, and colleges and whatever else. So I think that the local lockdowns are sort of still firmly on the agenda. What this is about, I think, is the sort of the recognition that sort of coronavirus is spreading amongst young people in social settings such as pubs and nightclubs. So I think that's what they're trying to do, is to sort of to make it illegal. Now, of course, the sort of point is though that how diligently are the police going to sort of to enforce this, because of course we've seen it in the papers and the sort of media of young people gathering together with complete disregard for the regulations previously, and indeed even during the sort of the national lockdown, there were instances of people sort of ignoring it. So I don't know, and unless the sort of government are going to get really sort of tough about this, or more particularly that they're going to give the power to the police to sort of clamp down in a way that certainly happened in the likes of Italy and Spain and France, where you could be, I wouldn't say shot, but certainly sort of the police were pretty ruthless. Then we're just going to have to sort of put up with it. But yeah, I think local lockdowns are still on the agenda and not going to go away anytime soon. Unfortunately, we have to say the same thing about coronavirus. We're stuck with it for the foreseeable future, many months, if not years.
Thanks for joining us, Steve.